guys, welcome to Vlogmas day 2. So 2 in a row, hell yes. I'm in the back room of the studio. As you see the trash cans and the sterilizing station. I'm trying to hear for the door, so if I like stop mid-sentence, it's because I'm listening to the door to see if anybody came in, because I don't really want to make this video like sitting out on the front desk, because that's awkward. It's awkward enough that I'm sitting in the back room talking to myself. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I wanted to make, first things first, a little bit of a addition to the suicide video, the unpopular opinion video I made the other day. When I get like, and I don't want to use like my mental illness as like a blame for this, because I hate when people do that, but at the same time it's sort of an explanation. I have mania. I have mania and depression. I'm manic depressive. I have bipolar disorder, you know, all goes together. When I'm really manic, I get really stuck on an idea and like I'm really passionate about it. I'm like, yeah, this is exactly how I feel, blah, 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 right? And that's how I felt when I made the suicide video. Like, I was like, you know, if you kill yourself because someone tells you to kill yourself, then, you know, it's your own fault, and suicide is still your own choice. And I still believe that. I still believe that suicide is your own choice. But even before, like, I even got a single comment on that video, I started thinking about it, like, a few hours later. I was talking to Shannon, and I was just like, I don't even know if I... got lipstick on my teeth, awesome. I don't even know if I believe in that, like, if I believe what I was saying. And that happens to me a lot, like, and it's creepy. It's weird that like I'll say things and like a few hours later and like not believe what I said, like not agree with what I said. And it's not that I don't agree with the you know, the bulk of the opinion, because yeah, I do believe that when it comes down to it, like if you're killing yourself, you're going to kill yourself. If you choose to kill yourself, you've chosen to kill yourself. You're the one that's pulling the trigger, you're the one that's doing it. But certain things, I mean, of course, like if you already have a problem with mental health, as I did say in the video, you know, that's going to be different. When it comes down to it, if you are mentally unwell, you need to get off the internet and get yourself help. I mean, that's just common sense. But I made me remember an incident that I actually forgot. I can't talk today. It made me remember something that happened to me when I was 16 years old. When I was 16 years old, I slit my wrist. I didn't like slit my wrist to like try to kill myself. Like there's no scars or anything, like nothing like that. But I had something called a dissociative episode, which I didn't even find out that's what it was until like years later. But basically I was having a really horrible time. Like I've been depressed since I was like 10. But like 14 to, I don't know, 27, I was really depressed. Well, I'll say high school, I was really depressed, and then I was just like up and down from there. So high school I was depressed, I was super suicidal, you know, I guess kind of just really not in a good place. And I remember I was living with my mom's boyfriend. It was my mom and my mom's boyfriend, and my mom's boyfriend took care of, I don't know what the proper PC term is, but like the mentally handicapped, you know, quote unquote retarded people. I'm sorry if that offends you. This is how I speak. So the mentally handicapped people. And, you know, and because I was young, I was 15, 16 years old when I met this guy. I wasn't used to ever living with a man, because my dad didn't live with us pretty much. Like he lived with us, but he was never home. So I was living with like you know, in a new place. I moved to like the hood pretty much. Living with a male, which I was never used to ever live with male, and also living with like 10 kids that were mentally, you know, either like, there's one that was like close to my age. She actually went to the same high school as me, but she had the mentality of like a 14-year-old, but she was 21. And then there was a guy like Walter who was like 40, but had the mentality of like a 3-year-old and walked around in a diaper. There was this guy James that had hepatitis C and like couldn't talk and wasn't really verbal, but like always was touchy people and stuff. And like, because I was so young and I didn't know what I know now, I know like the hepatitis doesn't spread the way it does. And this is also part of being like a 90s kid. Like this sex education that you got in like the 90s about like hepatitis and like AIDS and stuff was like, you get it, you die, the end. The end. And that is not reality of it whatsoever. But I was legitimately like scared of James, because James would like pee on the toilet seat, and I was afraid to like use the bathroom in the house, which was the only bathroom in the house, because I was afraid I was going to get like some kind of like weird disease from it. Like, and now looking back, I'm like, ugh, like that's horrible. Like I'm a horrible person. But back then, I mean, I didn't know any better. The reason I'm telling you this is it sort of gives you an idea of my state of mind. So I was really depressed and not even comfortable being at home, not comfortable being at school, not comfortable in my dad's house, not comfortable anywhere, because I never felt like I fit in anywhere. And then on top of that, like the only person I ever had that I felt like really like supported me or made me feel like comfortable was my mom. And that was not really there anymore anyway, because she was living with Bob and he was sort of an asshole, and they fought constantly. And like, I mean, to the point that like my mom is not a violent person, but like, you know, things would go thrown. It was just a really turbulent, like fucked up time of my life. Anyway, so long story back to that. So I was 6 years old. I literally was getting ready for school. It was like 7 in the morning. I sat down into the bathtub and I took a razor and I started slicing out my wrist. And it was the weirdest thing ever, because it wasn't like I didn't go into the bathroom going, I'm going to kill myself now. I went into the bathroom, like, just to get in the shower. Like, I turned the shower on and just sat down and started slicing my wrist. And it was like I was watching somebody else do it. Like, I was watching, like, a movie. I didn't even realize it was doing anything until I actually started bleeding. And once I started bleeding, I was like, I got, like, these crazy chills, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And it's crazy because that was literally a dissociative episode. I was not in control of my own body. And if I, if I went a little deeper, or if I, went deep, or if I decided to take pills instead of cutting myself or what have you, I could not be here today. So there's a lot more to it. I made that video, like, because I was so passionate, so manic about it, and I made it very black and white when it's not a black and white issue. Like, that was pretty much like, I thought this is not a black and white issue. There's a lot more involved in it. But at the same time, when it comes down to it, if you are mentally unwell and you feel like certain things might trigger you, or might, you're that unstable, it is your responsibility to get help. And if you're under the age of 18, or like you don't have parents that understand that, because I grew up in a generation where, like, I'm the youngest in my mom and dad's side. I mean, I have a half brother who's younger, but I'm the youngest with my mom and dad, and I'm in my mid-30s. So you think about it, my parents do not believe in mental health issues. Like, my mother has anxiety. I know she does, because she breaks out when she goes to public. She breaks out in the hives and shit. Like, I know, like, there's lots of mental health issues in my family, but it was not talked about, and you ignored it and it went away. Like with my whole depression and suicide and all the suicidal, tendencies and self-destructiveness and all this stuff, it just was swept under the rug. I mean, when I was like fucking like, I want to say I was like 2 to 4, when I would get angry, I would slam my face into the concrete fucking fireplace. If I did that nowadays, I would have put in like therapy at 2. But back then, that wasn't a thing. Like, people didn't do that. So anyway, the point of this is, me and Shannon were sitting there last night, and she was talking about with the thing on social media, like how there are, there are kids always talking about, like, they want to kill themselves, and like, being all depressed and whiny and da-da-da, and she's like, they're going to be so embarrassed, because they just do it for attention and da-da-da, and I was like, well, yes and no. I mean, like, I know since I didn't have social media, I had a bunch of journals. Like, I had like 20, I had a bunch, all through high school I had journals, because I had no friends, so I just talked to my journal. And I had a bunch of journals, and actually right after high school, I burned all of them, because I thought if I burned the journals, then my depression would go away, because when you have no idea about mental illness, that's what you do. And so I was like, well, yes and no. I was like, there are people that definitely play up mental illness or self-diagnose themselves. I definitely have an issue with self-diagnosis, like, sorry, not sorry. If you feel that you may possibly have something, you need to go to a doctor who, went to school for years to get a PhD to diagnose people, to see if it's actually true. Like, when I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, my exact reaction was, fuck you, I ain't got that. Because it comes in so many different forms, So, like, I have a problem with people self-diagnosing. I also have a problem with people self-diagnosing and putting it all over the internet in, like, their bio and stuff. Like, it's cool. Like, that's where I understand where Shannon's gonna come into play and be like, people just use it for attention. I hate, like, loathe when people put things like, hi, my name is, Cindy, and I'm bipolar 1, I have anxiety, and I have OCD, and I have PTSD, and I have da-da-da-da. It's always, like, the same, like, 4 or 5 things. And I have multiple personality disorder, and I have schizophrenia, active disorder. No, you don't. I love when they put, like, I have bipolar and manic depression, and, like, that's the same thing. I get it. Everyone in, like, high school, and I am generalizing, so just accept it, I'm generalizing. When I was in high school, we all wanted to be part of something. Like, we were going to be goth or punk or, jocks or preps or what have you. And I feel like now it's like, you want to be a certain mental illness. Because of the internet, you can actually, like, research things and be like, oh yeah, I have that. Oh yeah, I feel that way, I have that. And it just doesn't work that way. So she was talking about, she was like, I hate that, people, like, kids put all, put all over, the internet where they kill themselves and da-da-da, and it's making fun of people who actually do harm themselves. And I'm like, well, yes and no. There are people, like I said, who play it up. There are people that, say it for attention, but you think about it, if you're telling people you want to kill yourself for attention, there's obviously still an issue there. You might not be suicidal, but there's obviously something going on in your life that you think, you need to tell everybody that you want to die. Like, that's not normal behavior. Like, it's just not. And, like, one of the things I said to her, I was like, were you ever suicidal? And she's like, no. She's like, she just said, no, I was too busy. And I was like, really? I was like, well, coming from someone who was suicidal from, like, 10 to 30, let me explain some things to you. Like, if I had social media when I was in high school, which thank God I did not, I would have put in the same kind of fucking post. I wouldn't have put my, mental illnesses anywhere, because I don't like to do that. Like, I talk about it very openly on here because this is my venting board, but I don't talk about it, like, I'm open about it. Like, if someone, you know, if I'm talking to somebody, if I'm explaining something, I will say that I have bipolar disorder, but at the same time, I know that a lot of times I'm 100% judged by it, and it's just not a woe is me story, it's just the reality. When I tell people I have bipolar disorder, they don't really think, they're like, oh my god, stay over, she's gonna kill you. Especially because I'm also really like aggressive and loud and like I get angry really fast. And it's like, no, I'm not gonna hurt you. Like, it's just, I want it to have a face to the disorder, if that makes sense, you know? And like, I've asked her, so, would you ever suicidal? And she's like, no. And the whole, like, because I've been too busy, I was like, that's not true. Like, you can, come on. But yeah, I would have put up the same kind of post. So either way, if it's for attention or not, that person needs help. Because obviously, you're not just gonna be like, oh, I'm suicidal, blah, 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 and not have something going on there. You know, there's something that's making you think it's okay, that you need the attention. It's the same thing with like self-mutilation, which I had an issue with myself, but I used to like have this sort of like put myself in this like high horse shit, where because I never cut where people could see, that I was better than people that cut on their arms. And it was like, well, you know, I really had a problem because you could never see mine. Well, now, like, regardless, it's still not a healthy coping mechanism. Now, obviously, we all have, there's fakes in everything. I hate even saying it that way because, like, it's not like it's something you want to be real in, you know? But, like, everywhere there's people that are going to try to, like, you know, imitate it. So, yes, there are people that put cat scratches on their arms or wear short sleeve shirts just so someone pays attention to them, you know? But there are people that happen to cut for various reasons, you know? And, like, even though it feels like people are making a mockery of it by being like, oh yeah, me too, me too, me too, there has to be reasons that they're jumping into that category of like, you know, I have mental illness and it's so cool. It doesn't make you deep. It's not cool. If you actually have it, you know that it's not fucking cool. I hate it. I don't want to be this person. I don't want to, you know, be fucking manic and crazy, and I don't want to be fucking self-destructive, and I don't want to be depressed. Like, well, any of this shit, you know. So when people like make it like so like and talk about it constantly, it's very like, you know, it makes you almost like be like, ugh, you know, you don't want to believe them. But at the same time, anybody who's going to act like they have a mental illness, obviously there's something going on there. Now, we all know, I mean, most people that tend to hurt themselves don't tell anybody beforehand, but that's not always the case, you know. And like, people put this all over social media, and I'm like, guys, if you put your real name on social media, people can track that shit and find out who you are. And you're gonna be like 30 and be like, oh fuck, that poem I wrote about suicide when I was fucking 15 is still on the internet, because it never goes away, you know. And like, I hate when people like try to glamorize it, you know. Same thing with like drug abuse, like, we're gonna shoot heroin under the stars in Paris. Shut the fuck up. You know, if you're gonna self-destruct to do things like heroin, you're gonna shoot it under the fucking stars in Paris. You're gonna shoot it at some fucking crack den next to your fucking dealer and some dude that you suck dick for to fucking get money. Like, let's live in reality here. The same thing with like suicide. Suicide's not glamorous. It's not glamorous for your family to find your fucking bloated dead body. Like, that's not fucking glamorous. You know, mental illness is not glamorous. If you actually have bipolar disorder, it's really not fucking fun. If you have depression, if you have anxiety, all these things are not fun. I have anxiety, and one of my biggest symptoms is I sweat. And it is embarrassing as fuck. Like, oh my god, it's not just like, oh, it's cute, she's shy. No, like, because I refuse to let that stop me from shit, but at the same time, I hate the fact that when I'm really nervous, I sweat. It's really uncomfortable. It's not fucking cute. You know what I mean? It's not a cute fucking thing. It just drives me crazy. But like, at the same time, like, coming from someone with Shan who is actually pretty much stable mentally, and it made me realize how like unstable I guess I've been and was and whatever. Because like, when she said that, I was like, you've never been suicidal? And she's like, no. And I was like, I thought everyone was in high school. And I guess that's not true, obviously. I mean, I should know that's not true. But it's crazy. It's crazy that people want to be it. It's crazy that people want, you know, and I get like everybody wants to like fit in or seem edgy or dark and deep and such, but fucking just, God, read a fucking Edgar Allan Poe book and be super goth if you need to be like that. Like, come on. Like, don't act like mental illness is super fucking cool. Because it comes down to it, like, for example, like, I was talking about, like, when I was, you know, growing up in the early 90s, there was no, like, it was still taboo to go to a therapist, especially if you were a fucking kid, you know? Like, Prozac just sort of, like, came out, you know? Well, think about it. Like, when my mom was, you know, younger, when she was, like, you know, a kid, she had anxiety as well. Like, she would never raise her hand in class or anything like that. And this was the 50s. So what did they do to her? When she wouldn't raise her hand and she was really shy and she would talk like this, the same way I was when I was, like, fucking, like, 6 and 7, they literally had her go to special ed. They had her go to a class, talk to some dude, and he was like, you need to draw a man. She drew a man, And from there, they put her in special ed. And for the rest of her whole entire, you know, education, she was in special ed. My mom is not mentally challenged. My mom is not stupid. My mom is not slow. But because of this society that did not understand mental illness at all, they automatically assume that if you have anxiety, you are, you know, you need special education. She's learned nothing. She even says, she's like, I didn't learn anything. So she doesn't like have confidence that she can read. She can. But even at like 14, I had to sort of like explain bills to her because she didn't have the education to understand it because they just threw her in that. And think of it, my grandma before, like my great-grandmother before, you know, my mom, my great-grandmother had bipolar disorder. It was never diagnosed like that. But what my mother and my, you know, my mother told me about my grandmother's childhood, 100% red flag bipolar, like very violent, very aggressive, you know, and on the fucking flip of a fucking dime, she would change, you know, change her moods. And I'm like, 100% she has rapid cycling bipolar disorder. And back then they put her in the mental hospital all the time. Like she got lucky that she never got a fucking lobotomy. And it's like, this is what you want? Like this is what you want people to think you have? It doesn't, like, get a fucking talent, learn to write, learn to draw, learn to fucking do something. Like, this is not something to hold on to and be like, I'm so cool. No, no, honey, no, it's not. And yeah, I know I'm talking about it, but please don't think I'm gloating about it. I'm talking about it because, like I said, this is my sounding board. This is how I get things out. And I also want to have a face of bipolar disorder that isn't just like TV bipolar disorder where I'm going to like flip out 5 seconds and stab you. Like, no. I mean, yes, I definitely have to keep my moods in check and there are times I need to walk away from situations, but I'm also in my 30s and I've learned to deal with it at this point. You know what I mean? And like, I know there are kids that definitely milk it and act like it's worse than it is and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, think about, if you remember being a teenager, everything was way more fucking intense when you're a teenager. And sometimes you grow out of it and sometimes you actually have a mental illness, you know? But like trying to, like, wanting one is just, oh, it makes me really sad. You should not want one. They suck. They suck so bad. I would give my anxiety away so fast. And like, even on like Thanksgiving, I had to sort of like, I said something to my mom about like, it's been my 10-year anniversary of being diagnosed bipolar. Because when I first was diagnosed, like I said, I was really mad. And I was like, no way, no way. But she gave me, my doctor gave me a book to read. And I read the book because I was diagnosed anxiety, bipolar, and OCD. And I was like, no, I don't have that. Like, I don't have any of those. And she gave me a book to read and like, yeah, like explains a lot of my life. And the OCD was the one thing I was like, no, there's no way I have OCD. And I still don't really even tell people I have OCD because it really doesn't affect me that much. Because OCD and bipolar actually have like symptoms that are the same. And something that happens to me all the time is I get songs like stuck in my head, and not just like stuck in my head, like they'll play in my head for a week over and 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 over again. Like from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed. Like right now I have this, I have an Anision song stuck in my head. And I can't remember how it even started in my head, but it's no one will remember your name, no one will remember your name. I actually thought it was a ringtone, it's not my ringtone on my phone, but that's been in my head for a month. It's annoying. It's really fucking annoying. And that's actually OCD and bipolar disorder. So they don't know which one it's from. But yeah, so I was with my mom that like it's been 10 years and she was like, what do you mean? And I explained, I was like, I have bipolar disorder. Like, mind you, she's in her 70s, so maybe she's starting to not remember things. But I was like, I told you about it. She was like, well, I know you have the sweaty thing. And I was like, well, yes, Mom, I have the sweaty thing. Thank you for bringing it up. Because, side note, if you ever see anybody like sweating or shaking or just being totally uncomfortable, even having a panic attack, shut the fuck up. Ask them if they're okay, and then shut the fuck up. Like if they're talking to you but they just happen to be sweating, shut the fuck up. You're not helping by drawing attention to it. But whatever. She's like, well, I know this funny thing, and I was like, yeah, I was like, it's anxiety. I was like, but I have menstrual minute, and she just doesn't like it. She doesn't get it. She does not get it. She's like, well, you're nothing like my grandmother was. You're not violent. You're not. And I'm like, well, because there's things you don't know, Mom. You know, like I'm not violent against anyone but myself. Like I have definitely harmed myself in many ways because I've always just been that kind of person. Like I don't want to hurt other people. I have gotten to that point of rage where I've wanted to hurt other people, but now I've always taken all my anger out on myself, be it, you know, and I'm so quick to anger. Like luckily I'm in a better place now than I've ever been in my life. Like I'm happy. And it's so weird because like I was talking again to Shannon about that last night too. And I was like, I have no realm of thought for this part of my life because I never expected this part of my life to happen. I never expected to be fucking happy. I never expected to like not want to die. I never expected to not be on drugs. I never expected to be loved. I never expected any of this. And it's so weird and I don't really have like a realm of thought for it. But I am definitely, you know, if nothing else, I definitely feel like I am a story of it does get better, you know, even if it sucks for a long time, it does get better. But when it comes down to it, like, if you feel like you're mentally unwell, you should get help. I'm very happy that I did, and you have to stick to it, because I went to so many doctors before I finally found one that listened to me. And he's out 3.5 hours away, and I still go to him. I just talk to him on the phone instead of actually having to go up to his office. Like, it just, I feel like it should be taken seriously, but at the same time, I feel like all these people that fucking fake it, or they try to do it for attention and stuff, should actually be stuck with it for a month. You know, if there's a way to give them medication, or for a month they felt like what it was really like to have like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, like, especially when they say that they have like schizoaffective disorder, it's like, you don't want that. I can guarantee you don't want that. My friend has that. You don't want that shit. You know, or anxiety. I wish they could take like a medication for like a month and just have it, and they would never want for it again. It does not make you edgy. It does not make you cool. It does not make you interesting. It makes you someone with a goddamn mental illness. The end. Okay, so it's been 20 minutes now, and I just trailed, so hopefully this makes sense. And using a selfie stick that is shaky as fuck, so we'll see how this works out. Okay,